Hello, my name is Celeste, and today I'm going to discuss and evaluate the design choices I made for my 3-page magazine. The applications I used to create my edits was Adobe Photoshop and InDesign. This was accomplished on a Microsoft Windows 10 laptop with 2 GB of RAM and a DirectX graphics card. This satisfies Adobe Photoshop's minimum system requirements. Similarly, Adobe InDesign shared all but one difference. It requires a minimum of 4 GB of RAM to run, so those edits were transferred to a more capable PC. Designing a successful magazine cover is a challenging task, but I believe I have succeeded in creating an eye-catching title page that will immediately captivate and engage the reader. To begin, instead of utilizing Microsoft's bland and uninteresting built-in font selection, I used a variety of fonts from the internet. My title became so much more prominent as a result of this. On top of the title, I added a color gradient and a drop shadow to give it additional depth and dimension. 2 Apple products are displayed on the center of the screen with a splash of color behind them. This makes them stand out to the viewer while also giving the cover a light-hearted and fun vibe. The second page has a more minimalistic approach. The Apple logo is the page's main focal point, which I've applied a color gradient to keep the theme consistent. I also found a quote by Steve Jobs and placed it within the Apple logo to fill the empty space. The juxtaposition of white with the Apple logo gave the illusion that the words had been cut out of it. Finally, I used the elliptical marquee tool to mask a photo of Steve Jobs into a circular shape. It was placed next to the Apple's bite mark as a cool design element and to efficiently fill the space. To compensate for the bulk of the text on the second page, the third page is primarily filled with pictures. This is where I've executed the most of my Photoshop editing. I used the clone stamp tool to duplicate a cartoon apple several times for the backdrop. Then I retouched a photo of Steve Jobs to make him hold an apple. This was accomplished by masking an image of Steve Jobs and putting an apple behind his fingers. This is shown here. I made a reflection from scratch to make it more realistic. This was achieved by horizontally flipping Steve Jobs' original image, scaling it down, and reducing its opacity. Secondly, I came upon a vintage photograph of young children watching television. The child watching is intended to be Steve Jobs. Then I added text to the television screen that said, "Apples are great," in a vintage font and covered it with a grainy black and white overlay. This gave it more of a vintage feel. To improve, I could have stuck to a color scheme to not make the pages look so out of place. My focus should not have been on the creator of Apple and instead more about computer parts and technology. To conclude, I think I have effectively incorporated every aspect of design elements within my magazine article. Thank you for listening.